In the great kingdom of Eldoria, King Alden ruled with wisdom, wealth, and an unusual love for jokes. By his side stood his most trusted advisor, Lord Reginald, a man of great intelligence, immense wealth, and terrible patience. Lord Reginald was a master of business, strategy, and outsmarting his enemies. But he had one huge problem: his son, Felix. Felix was, in the eyes of the people, an absolute fool. He once tried to sell wind in bottles, claiming it was fresh mountain air. Another time, he rented out the kingdom's bridges, despite not owning any of them. Whenever Reginald heard the villagers laughing about his son's latest antics, he would clench his fists, grit his teeth, and mutter, "That boy will be the death of me." One day, King Alden decided he needed to know if Felix was truly foolish or if there was more to him. "Lord Reginald is the wisest man in my kingdom," the king thought. "Surely his son must have some of his intelligence. Or, at least a fraction of it." To find out, he summoned Felix and other promising young men of the kingdom for a test of wisdom. Seated on his golden throne, the king declared, "Diamond is valuable but not rare. Gold is rarer and serves as high-value currency. Silver is even rarer in this kingdom and is used for coins. Based on these factors, which of these holds the greatest overall value?" The first nobleman stepped forward and proudly said, "Diamond, your majesty. The strongest and most precious." The second young man confidently answered, "Gold, my king. It is the foundation of our wealth." Then came Felix. He stepped forward, scratched his head, and with a big, goofy grin, said, "Silver." The entire court fell silent. Then, a moment later, boom! The palace erupted into laughter. "Silver? What a fool!" the nobles howled. The king himself nearly fell off his throne from laughing so hard. Pleased by the entertainment, he rewarded Felix with a chest full of silver. At that time, Lord Reginald was away on royal business. When he returned, he found the entire kingdom laughing behind his back. "Why is everyone smirking at me? What did my idiot son do now?" he growled. A villager snickered. "Haven't you heard? Your son thinks silver is the most valuable thing in the kingdom." Reginald turned red with rage. He stormed home, slammed the door open, and shouted, "Felix! You half-witted turnip! What nonsense did you speak in front of the king?" Felix, still counting his silver coins, looked up casually and smiled. "Father, you always said that true wisdom is understanding people. And I understand the king loves to laugh. Every time I say, 'silver,' he laughs, and then gives me a chest full of silver. So why would I say anything else and gain nothing?" Reginald's eye twitched. His face turned purple. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Then opened it again. You sly little rat." Felix shrugged. "A rich sly little rat, father." Reginald was so furious he nearly fainted. For months, Felix continued his routine. Whenever the king felt bored, he would summon him. "Felix, my boy. Tell me, diamond, gold, or silver? Which is the most valuable?" And with a straight face, Felix would say, "Silver." The court would burst into laughter. And, as expected, the king would reward him with another chest of silver. Meanwhile, every time Reginald saw his son being rewarded, he would clench his fists and mutter, "Unbelievable, unbelievable. My idiot son is surely going to be the end of my legacy." One day, after handing Felix yet another chest of silver, the king suddenly paused. He frowned. "Wait a minute, how many chests of silver have I given you?" Felix, suddenly sweating, tried to change the subject. "My king, isn't it time for your royal nap?" The king turned to his treasurer. "Count the silver in the royal vault." An hour later, the treasurer returned, looking pale. "My king, the royal vault is nearly empty. Felix has most of the kingdom's silver." The king turned to Felix, his eyes narrowing. "You've been tricking me this whole time?" Felix grinned. "Tricking? "No, my king. I've just been providing a royal service. After all, you were never paying for wisdom, you were paying for laughter." The king opened his mouth to yell, but then something unexpected happened. He laughed. A deep, hearty laugh. "You, Felix, are no fool. You are the cleverest trickster I've ever seen." At that moment, Reginald stormed in, red with rage. Clever? He's a menace. He doesn't deserve a reward. He deserves a good kick in the... But before he could finish, the king interrupted. "Silence, Reginald. I have decided, Felix shall be the kingdom's official royal fool. He will be paid to entertain me." Reginald's jaw dropped. His son, his ridiculous, foolish, impossible son, had just been given a full-time job, for being an idiot. Felix turned to his father with a smug grin. "See, father? You spent your life working hard to get rich. I just had to make the king laugh." Reginald clutched his chest. "I am going to have a heart attack." And so, while Felix never became an advisor like his father, he did become the richest fool in the history of Eldoria. Because, as he always said, silver is the most valuable. And with that, he laughed all the way to the bank. Meanwhile, his father spent the rest of his days shaking his fists at the sky, muttering, "That boy will be the death of me." And so, while Felix laughed his way to wealth and comfort, his father spent his days in frustration, muttering about his foolish son. But perhaps the greatest irony of all was that Felix was no fool at all. His story left behind lessons far more valuable than silver, lessons about wisdom, adaptability, and the power of understanding people. Success doesn't always come from hard work alone. While Lord Reginald spent his life using strategy and effort to grow wealthy, Felix used creativity and unconventional thinking to achieve the same goal. The lesson? There's more than one way to win. Wisdom comes in many forms. Intelligence isn't just about knowledge and strategy, it's also about understanding people. Felix may have seemed foolish, but his ability to read the king's desires and act accordingly proved more valuable than traditional wisdom. And perhaps the most important lesson of all, enjoy life while you can. Felix didn't just chase money, he enjoyed the process and found happiness in the game itself. Unlike his father, who was constantly stressed, Felix lived in the moment. Sometimes, the greatest wealth is joy.